Hold on, what's up? Lou's calling me, actually. Give me a second. Give me a second. Yo, what up? Okay. Is it like glitching back and forth? Hold on, wait a second. Let me check this out real quick. I kind of underprepared. I kind of did this last minute, not really expecting much from it. I should have thought this through a little bit better, but here we are. Welcome to the stream. Oh, it's not. It's fine. Oh, the camera's fine. Whatever. Welcome to the stream. There we go. Welcome to the stream. The podcast stream usually starts at 2 Pacific Standard Time, but today I'm logging on a little bit early because I'm going to record a couple extra episodes with Braden. When he calls in, I might as well go live for the recording of those exclusive episodes because I know that y'all know that we do exclusive episodes. And then on top of that, I wanted to film an extra episode by myself called What I Learned from Doing 1,000 Mixes. What up, May the Pirate? Hello. Yeah, welcome. Let's go. Good morning. Woo! I think that's what that is. All right, let me see here. Chat bar. Yeah, we're good. All right, here's the deal. First off, May, great job on that song. I know I just mastered it, but that was actually such a really good job. We're gonna talk about some important stuff today, and then we're gonna go live probably all day today, to be honest. So come check us out right now. Subscribe on YouTube and Twitch. But what up? Okay, so the first one that I want to talk about before we get Braden on the show and start recording these exclusive episodes is I've never really talked about my experience in 2020, 2 years ago. In one single year, I mixed 1,000 songs. I want to talk about what that means, how I kind of counted it, how I got there, and what I learned from it, which is I think is a crazy feat to have done, and how it almost ruined my life. I'm not going to lie to you. So I think that'll be a fun episode to do for the YouTube channel, separate from the podcast. Maybe it'll become a podcast episode, but I just want to film something. So yeah, we're just gonna go for it. And let me pull up. I made a list of like 13 things that I learned from it on Twitter. So I'm gonna read those and use that as kind of like a script. Let's see here. Okay, here it is. Let's go. Should be good. Let me check here real quick. Output recording generals. Oops. Whatever. Yeah, whatever. It's gonna go directly to the desktop. Can my computer handle that? I think it can. All right, let's go. Let me bingo ping my Discord group as well. What up, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm trying to wave to all of y'all, but I don't think I'll be able to. Good morning, good morning. We have an important episode this morning. Ooh, I gotta mix something. I gotta do on stream this week as well. Hold on one second. YouTube.com/DK mixes. Or HTTPS twitch.tv/DK mixes. Boom. Let's get rid of these embeds because those are annoying. Let's publish that. Yep. All right, cool. What up, everybody? What up? New episodes coming soon. Yeah, I'm about to film. Well, we live stream the filming of these episodes every single week. But today I'm actually doing a YouTube video as well. So I'm going to talk about... What up, Jamie? Hey, how you keeping, people? I'm good. We're good. Thanks for being a subscriber as well. Hold on one second. Okay, sweet. So I think we're going to go for it. Okay, this is a good first episode. Is the music too loud, by the way? Should I turn down the music? Is the music of concern to anybody? I can turn down the music. All right, I'm just going to wing this. Here it is. We are recording. That's annoying. Two years ago, during 2020, I mixed 1,000 songs. I'm going to share with you some things that I learned and why that almost killed me. Should I say not killed me? Let me do that again. I'm going to do that intro again. Two years ago in 2020, I mixed and mastered over 1,000 songs, 1,019 to be specific, and I learned a lot of things during that time. Here's a list of a few things that I learned and why I wouldn't recommend you trying to do the same. Yeah, I did almost die, Noah. STFU, I did almost die. I'm kidding. But I'm gonna go through this Twitter list here, so. Made me feel like little Mr. Poopy Pants. I think that would have been more accurate. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna clap for edit points. I should probably first off. So in 2020, I mixed and mastered 1,019 songs. I counted it up. I hit around 300 by March, April, and kind of realized that this was actually a feasible goal that I could hit by the end of December. It kind of became, I'm super goal oriented, so like it just became a challenge that I wanted to try, and I did, and I sacrificed a lot for it, and it was not good. So if you do the math, 1,000 mixes is I should probably get this right. It's like hold on. Yeah, it's 2.7. Okay. If you do the math, 1,000 mixes in a year is 2.7 mixes a day with no breaks. That's insane. There's definitely ways that I kind of expedited the process and simplified the process, mostly through systems. So point number one, how did I do this? It's through systems. Systems is everything. I had a whole team of assistants. Literally, I had even my wife setting up sessions for me. It was absolutely crazy. There was so much work to do. I had like 2 or 3 interns as well as a producer that was even like partially ghost mixing stuff for me. I had an entire team. I could not have done that on my own, just from the sheer workload. So you have to set up systems. This makes me think about if you want to continue mixing in the long run. I mean, if you got to be able to scale it. And the only way to scale it is by offsourcing some of this work as well. So if you listen to like Jason Joshua or Manny Marroquin, they're not mixing the songs that they're required to by themselves most of the time. They're actually having their assistants do most of the work and then coming through just to make sure that it's good. I mean, Dave Pensado has even openly spoken about how like he has a lot of leniency with his assistants and he just like checks them off. He may not even touch the session, but let them ghost mix. It's interesting to me. I mean, like, as a mixer, that makes sense. Like, you have to be scalable. Like, you don't want to be paid by only by the time that you're actually working on stuff. You'll never be able to go on vacation. So I think that is very interesting. But it was doing 1,000 songs in a year forced me to do that. I currently only have like 1 assistant at the moment. I'm no longer doing it at this scale, and nor do I want to. But if you want to be more passive, I recommend, or getting more work done, I recommend having assistants. The systems were insane. I made manuals and videos and various different things, and I want to give a special shout out to everybody that did help me during the year of 2020, including my dear wife, poor wife, who had to learn how to use Logic real quick just to set up sessions and bounce stems for me. Thank you so much. Number 2, I learned how to over-deliver to everybody. So when time is limited, there's a few different tricks that you can use to make sure that people are happy. I mean, with what we do as a service-based industry is every single client, every single project has to be over-delivered. If you have one bad project where they did not like it and you were a total jackass, that's really potentially going to hurt you, as that may be word of mouth against you in the future. One way to eventually get a continuous flow of clients is over-delivering to everybody. And this is really, really crucial, especially if you're doing projects for free. Many people are like, okay, I need more projects to do. I need more clients, so I'm going to start doing some free work just for, the marketing of it. And then they do it, but then they half-ass those projects. That's probably the worst time to ever half-ass. That's probably the worst time to ever half-ass any projects, is when you're doing work for free. You don't want to be doing that, especially because work for free is a time where you can win them over. It's really hard to be motivated when there's no payout at the end. But honestly, I recommend even taking a percentage or something that it doesn't have to be money, but it's a good idea to get them to sacrifice something for your work. My favorite quote from one of my favorite books is called one of my favorite books is let me do it again. One of my favorite books about business is called The Go-Giver. And there's a quote from that book that says, "Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment." I really, really understand and vibe with that. I don't think that you should be, anybody's bitch and just be totally stomped on and disrespected. But I think that you should figure out a way to continually balance and give more than you take. And that's how you grow clientele. If I over-deliver and someone is just totally won over by me, then I'm going to be able to, they're going to like preach my gospel and talk about how awesome it was to work with me, and that's going to lead to more clients. Because the only way that I'm going to get more clients is overcoming a barrier of trust. It's not about my mixes sounding good. It's about if people are willing to give me a shot. You don't go to a new barber unless they were either recommended by a previous one or by a friend that you know. Like, how many people, there's so many barbers in the area, but still you choose the one that you pick based on trust. like some form of trust. It's not about how good you are, and maybe reviews is the form of trust, but reviews do not build as much trust as a direct recommendation from a friend. So you want to continue to over deliver. Okay. Number 3, clients are willing to wait if you tell them. Okay. Number 3, one way to over deliver is by Lesson number 3 that I learned is that one way that you can appease clients and help them feel better and over-deliver is by constant communication. Clients are actually willing to wait longer than the expected delivery date if you tell them. There's been many times when I was super duper busy and I could not get a mix out for like 2 weeks. And as long as I was in constant communication, less people actually cared. It was very interesting. I mean, we learned this from Disney too, where Disney and these theme parks will actually put the wait time in front of the rides. People are actually less unhappy. They're more okay with waiting long times if the time is posted. And there's actually even this psychological trick where they post the times that are longer than the actual wait time. So actually when you go through the line, it's a little bit faster. You feel very lucky and you come out actually feeling like you were blessed and it was a better experience than you imagined. This is a very great way to do this. I do this all the time. Like I'll say it's going to be a week and I try to deliver in 3 days. There's a quote that I heard recently by another engineer that says, if you cannot deliver a good product, then deliver it faster. And I think that's a really great way to spread word of mouth and over deliver if you aren't as confident with your mixing. So instead of mixing better, mix faster, deliver it faster, and that's always going to win people over. Okay, that's a really good point there. Let's see here, number 4. Okay. Number 4 that I learned, because I did a lot of free work or very, very cheap work just to reach my goal. So number 4 is offering a lower price will make your customers think that your value is your price. Here's the thing. My value and the reason why people want me to mix something is because I'm DK. And maybe it's because of my sound or my brand or whatever. But if I ever get a client because I'm the cheaper option and my value is the price, they're not going to be a good client. They're never going to be they're less likely to be satisfied with my product. They're going to be more upset. And when they find out that revisions cost extra or whatever, there's just more reason to be upset when the value is the price. So make sure that you continue to set your value to be your brand. Make content, whatever it is that you want to do and you want to over-deliver and create trust. That's better. You don't always have to make people sacrifice with money, but your value has to be beyond your pricing. Don't be the cheapest option. You'll get the cheapest clients, and that really sucks. During the 1,019 mixes that I did in 2020, that was probably the most hurtful thing, is like revisions and satisfying these clients that were just, some of them I was not able to satisfy. And it was not because my prices, and it's not because my mixes were bad. It was because that they were expecting me to be a bad mixer because my prices were low, so they were never satisfied. And when I went to mix with the Masters a few years back with Leslie Brathwaite, one of the best mixes that someone presented to the group was the mix was in like revision 5, and it was continued to be denied by the artist. It was the best mix that anybody's ever heard during that time week in France. Leslie Brathwaite, this multi-Grammy winning engineer, called up the client and said, yo, I'm telling you right now, this sounds good. The dude has been doing the mixes for free because he's a live sound engineer that wanted to transition to the studio. So I guess the artist had no trust in this mixer doing it. When he got the call from Leslie, and Leslie's like, gave him the confidence that it sounds good, all of a sudden he was okay with the mix. So it obviously wasn't a mix thing. It was a trust thing. It's really interesting. Offering a lower price ain't always it. I don't actually recommend doing the cheapest option. Number 5. Number 5 is working fast made me a better mixer. I preach this on the Mixing Music podcast all the time. By the way, link in the description if you want to listen to free content about mixing. But I really believe in this. I think that inspiration is always fleeting, and you should always be figuring out ways that you can mix faster. Every time that I finish a mix really quickly, it actually sounds better than if I take my sweet time. Not always. I mean, there's many times when I take my sweet time and over the course of days or weeks, and it does sound better and it improves the sound. But often than not, especially the first pass through, I recommend that you set constraints and time limits and mix fast. You're not overthinking about how loud the vocal is or the drum should be. You're just going based on inspiration. The cool thing is that if you're mixing or if you're engineering, you've probably listened to a lot of music. You have a huge database in your mind of what sounds good and what sounds right, even if you're inexperienced. In fact, I recommend mixing faster the less experienced you are. And the more experienced you are, there's probably a little bit of leniency where you can take longer to mix because you don't lose objectivity as fast. So mix fast. Like when I did 1,000 mixes, I did not have time to do these mixes, but honestly, it turned out for my benefit. I got good at mixing because I learned to trust my instincts, and I think that's one of the strongest skill sets that I still have to this day. Number 6 is controversial. I talk about this all the time, but I'm going to continue to push this, and I know many people are going to unsubscribe or dislike the video, but if you like what I'm saying, then subscribe or like the video. But number 6 is actually, I found out during this time that analog or hybrid mixing is a total waste of time. I think analog gear, there's a sense of warmth. Well, Dave Pensado specifically says warmth is just another word for dull. It's interesting, but and warmth, the idea of warmth comes from because components in an analog chain cannot handle and preserve the fidelity of the really high-end frequency, so it literally just smooths out the top. Anyway, we're not going to get into that, but when you're getting paid per project and running and committing analog gear adds an extra 30 minutes and revisions adds another 30 minutes, so you're adding time to your mixing, you cannot afford to do that. It's a total waste of time. And how much better a mix can get using analog equipment is so marginally minimal, and on top of that, not even actually better. It's like, I can argue to say if it's better or not, that it's genuinely a waste of time, especially when you're in crunch mode and you're trying to be as efficient as possible. Going out of the box is definitely not worth it. And to this day, like, very rarely does a project actually force me to go out of the box. There are benefits of going out of the box, and analog gear does sound warm and better, and sometimes that's the best tool for the job. But when you're charging per project and adding gear, implementing gear takes more time, then what's going to happen is you're going to make less money per hour, less dollars per hour, and you really do not want that, especially when you're charging so little already. Number 7, discipline and time management. How's the music, by the way? Is the music too loud? Should I turn down the music a little bit? I'll turn it down a touch. Okay. Number 7 is discipline and time management. I mean, come on. Waking up in the morning, having the discipline to go to bed on time. I'm a night owl myself, and I did most of my work in the evenings. But still, like, you got to have some sort of discipline. And it's interesting. I really find that when you practice discipline and practice good habits, it actually leads to better habits. So if you start getting lazy, laziness leads to laziness. So if you decide that you want to change your mind or change your habits and start doing good habits, that's really going to help you. Also, I'm a huge fan of the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, where I'm not as fan of... where he talks about goals are not as important as systems. So, like, having the systems and recognizing, okay, I got 3 songs to do today or whatever it is, and having the systems like assistance and habits and goals, or habits instead of goals, is going to help you reach your goals. Like, focus on what you can do now, what you can control, and have a goal be more of a direction rather than anything else. So it was definitely my daily habits and systems, my time management and discipline, and even my my software, my project management software that actually led me to be able to do this. It was definitely a combination of everything. I mean, do I need to say anything else about this? Number 8 is give. During this time in 2020, I actually probably didn't make as much money as you think I did. Again, I did a lot of projects for free or for very, very cheap just to hit this goal. I did notice, though, that the more that I gave effort and gave of myself and tried to over-deliver, the more people actually spoke highly of my name. And again, continued to break the barriers of trust with other people about me. It's this crazy thing that people think they want to get rich quick, so they screw people over. That doesn't work in the long run. You have to give, and the more that you're willing to give openly, like me making this YouTube video and sharing with you my secrets, you may potentially think of me more of a valuable thought leader. Like you might respect my thoughts, which is going to lead you to trust me more, which might then eventually turn into some clientele or paid work. We don't know. But the point is, I definitely wouldn't have had that opportunity if I wasn't being willing to give in the sense of the podcast or the videos or whatever. So it's really interesting. The more that you give, the more work that you can get. And I really, really believe in that. Don't be stingy. And to be honest, rarely ever should you deny someone work or deny someone a project because you're motivated by money. If you ever find yourself motivated by money and money alone, you're probably going to make a bad decision that's going to hurt you in the long run. So don't be stingy. Do things because you love it, and pick your clientele and focus on the quality of your clientele rather than how much money it makes, or else you're going to find yourself working with clientele that you absolutely hate. Nobody wants that. Again, the book that I recommend for this topic is The Go-Giver. All right. Okay. Number 9 is create content constantly. This is a common phrase that we hear among content makers, A common phrase that we hear among content creators is that you are building your brand passively, whether you do it on purpose or not. Your brand is your reputation, right? And if you can scale your brand and your reputation, get more people to hear about you and discover you, then utilize the algorithms that are super democratized. Utilize your Instagram algorithm and the YouTube algorithm. I mean, building a podcast and using the podcast algorithm platform, it totally changed my life and the projections of my career. Using this YouTube channel, like, I'm doing this on purpose. I'm telling you right now that this is one of my secrets. This small little information that I'm giving you is going to break the barrier of trust, which may or may not lead to anything, but I'm giving myself a shot. The more content that you make, the more that you scale and accelerate that word of mouth and that reputation that's going to happen regardless of whether or not you do it on purpose is going to help you in the long run. So you're building a brand whether you like it or not, so might as well do it on purpose and make content. Even if it's only once a week or 3 times a day, it doesn't matter. Like, do something, because that's going to help you. One time I went live on Instagram for 30 minutes. It was a bullshit live stream. I went live for 30 minutes. 2 days later, I made $1,000 from a couple projects that someone gave me because I was front of mind from that live stream. It's really interesting. I mean, that's a very rare instance, but you got to do it. You got to risk yourself and put yourself out there. I really think that in 2022, in today's day and age, and 2023 and beyond, you're going to have to create content. As a small business owner and entrepreneur that we all are as these mixers, you got to create content in some capacity or another, even if it's just taking selfies, although that doesn't really help you break the barriers of trust. But again, the point of the content is to help break the barriers of trust and get over them so you can reach more people. All right, that's cool. Number 10, this is a really, really personal thing. And the thing is, I said at the beginning of this episode, of this video, that doing 1,000 mixes almost broke me down, killed me, even didn't actually almost kill me, but let me see. Number 10 is actually more personal, and I think the rest of the list is a little bit more personal because I said at the beginning of the video that doing over 1,000 mixes in a year really, really hurt me. Emotionally speaking, and I almost quit music completely, and I still feel like I'm recovering from that. I've lost a lot of my major passion from that time. So number 10 is don't ever overwork, especially when you can. I'm a workaholic. I got that from my father, who was also a workaholic, or whatever. Maybe it's just a personality of mine. I'm just so passionate about music that I was just willing to work, and I did work 80 to 100 hours every single week for the first 4 years of my career and go to school full time. I've barely got any sleep, and because of that, at the first few years it was good, but in the long run it ended up becoming very detrimental, especially in 2020, 2 years ago, when I did 1,019 songs. Don't ever overwork, especially when you can. I think it's important to have hobbies and to have things that you're passionate about outside of music or outside of your work environment, and continue to make friends and a trust group outside of your working relationships. I really do think that that's important, and ever since then, I think sustainability is the name of the game. It's not about how much you can do and how much money you can make. There's no point if you can make $10 million this year but totally hate music for the rest of your life and never can return back to it. I know many people have done that, and it's just not worth it. You want to be sustainable, so push as hard as you can, but remember to keep it healthy. 10.5 is building on this, and these are all points that I made on Twitter, by the way. Follow me on Twitter, if you want to do that. But 10.5, I said, no amount of money, fame, or respect is ever worth losing your passion over. Consistency is worth much more than short bursts of action. I don't ever want to do that amount of work again, and recommend you build your brand in a way that is healthy for you. So that's it. That's 10 points of what I learned from mixing over 1,019 songs in the year of 2020. What did you learn from this? What have you learned when you've been mixing, whether you've been doing it part-time or full-time? Have you fallen out of love with your craft? What kind of tips would you recommend for people that are trying to build a career in mixing? Leave comments down below. I hope this has been helpful for you. Please consider subscribing and liking. Those are free ways to help me out a lot. I love you all. Listen to the Mixing Music Podcast. Happy mixing, my friends. Stay saucy. Boom, let me read these comments real quick. Lol, you almost died. 1,000%. I assume you said that about... I think I saw you do that about over-deliver to everyone. I'm friends with Derek Brenner, who's front of house for Bruno and The Weeknd. I've talked to him several times about the industry and constantly stresses this idea of building a team for the long haul as opposed to getting the best you can afford at each moment in the career. I know you're a big believer in that too. Hugely important. True. The Silk Sonic record is like the warmest, vibiest record ever when it was done by Serban, who's famously in the box. Meditation. That's the one thing that I've done in the past I have not done recently is meditation. Honestly, I need to find a therapist as well. I've been meaning to reach out to a therapist and do some therapy, whatever it takes. Mental health is very important. But Braden Flint is online, so maybe we should get him on the stream. Make some content here. Let me... Also, I need to pee really badly. Let me get him on the stream here. You are connected. All right, give me a second. I'll be right back. Hold on. This is stupid. Frick. My bad, y'all. Hold on. Give me a second. This is stupid. Give me a second. Hold on. Browser's chat box. Streamlabs fake cover. Where's my what the face cam? There it is. Webcam. I'm gonna wait. Wait a second. What is going on? Logo box, text, browser source. I really need to pee badly. I need to pee so badly. Give me a moment, y'all. I'll be right back. I need to pee. I'm gonna figure this out. Give me a second. Sorry for the wait. Okay. So the first thing I need to do in order to get the stream to work is I need to go to webcam, and I can turn off the camera just for a moment here. There it is. Test. Okay, sweet. And I'm gonna go back. All right. Let's do this, and I'm gonna invite my boy Braden in here. we're gonna do this too. All right, there we go. What the heck? Hold on, give me a second. I keep messing this up. Dang. Okay, I'm gonna full screen that so I can keep that. Good. Okay, cool. Take that down. We're gonna full screen. We're gonna go to gameplay stream. Here it is. Hello, test. What the heck? Double me. Hold on, wait a second. We should probably do. And what was it? How did I do this before? Zoom. There it is. Oi. What up? There it is. Cool. How was that for the first episode? Yeah, was it good? Hi, Gavin, by the way. Test. Oh. Uh. 072522. So we have a bunch of subscribers, new subscribers for the podcast. So it's been really, really good. Let's wait till Braden pops on here. And I might just do this as well while I got it. Desktop 4. There we go. Wait, wrong one. Where's my OBS? Where's OBS? Oh my gosh. In the wrong screen, whatever. Okay. We should be good here. That's the cool thing about Mac is that I can have like unlimited desktop setups, which is really great. All right, come on, Braden, let's go. I'm ready for you. Hello, happy mixing, my friends. Stay saucy. What up, everybody that's been through? Sorry, I'm so late. I'm not keeping up with this. I broke my phone. Funny story for anybody that's listening. I broke my phone. So apparently iPhones are waterproof unless they're cracked and broken and water can get inside. It is not waterproof. So I was sitting in the rubber pool that we have, the 10-foot long rubber pool in the front yard. And the sun was out. I was FaceTiming a friend. The most gangster shit I've ever done. And imagine doing a business FaceTime call and I'm sitting in the pool with sunglasses and a hat, just tanning it up, right? And during the FaceTime meeting, the phone was like overheating. And, I was like, gaming PCs, like my gaming PC is water cooled. Yeah, water cooling is a great idea. I dipped my phone in the water to cool it down because it was overheating and broke. It broke. And it's pretty disappointing. And that's what. Hello, Braden. Hello. Say hi. You are live, by the way. How's Austin?
Oh, it's good.
Good. That's it?
Yep, that's it.
I think I'm hearing. Am I here to talk?
Are you hearing two of me?
I think I'm hearing two of you. With very low latency, which is great.
Let me.
By the way, we're live. Everybody say hello. Did I already tell you that? I think I already told you that. I have Alzheimer's, so.
Can you hear two of me now? Is it any better now?
I don't know. Yes, it's better.
Okay, cool.
We're just gonna say yes.
I had the input monitoring on, and maybe it was coming back through my headphones. I don't know.
Cool. Well, let's get started. I've never live streamed us doing this, but this is awesome that we can do this. Let me take some notes. So the way that we do this is that for anybody watching and that listens to the exclusive episodes. By the way, mixingmusicpodcast.com/exclusive. Wait a second. I'm gonna do this too. You do your thing. Play. Wait a second. Give me a second. Yeah, let's do it. I'm gonna do a couple things while you're doing it.
Okay. So I'm just gonna play Let's see, how many do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, and then we also need to answer listener question today. So let's start with that episode actually. We'll listen to all the clips, but then when we start recording, let's do the listener question first. Yep, I think we'll be good there.
I'm gonna do a text. Hold on, text free type 2. Let me do.
And there'll be like 5 seconds of silence in between each clip that I play, so you'll have time to finish writing whatever you need.
Episodes. I think that's the best way to do it. Let's make the colors. Let's do like a green, like a minty. Minty green. Ooh, I can hear myself. Oh, what is this? Oh, Schneike's Batman. Ooh, this is cool. Okay, let me transform this. Oh, what? Center horizontal. There we go. And we're gonna do filters here. I'm gonna put on the scroll effect. I'm gonna turn off the scroll effect for the other one too. Yeah, so I should probably do this. That's annoying. That is super annoying. Prop filters. No scroll. No scroll. Here. And then this. And then I'm going to do... And I don't even have set up the exclusive one, so... I should probably just change it up.
I have to adjust my monitor volume with my foot. On an unrelated side note.
And also, we're not going to do... That's really annoying. You know what? I'm going to turn off... the scrolling thing is just not working. I'm trying to get it to work. It just looks goofy. Oh, man. We're seeing some direct behind the scenes here of DK messing up. Oh, gosh. Oh, my... I'm a butt. I'm just cannot do anything right now. This is taking way too long. I'm just not... Center horizontal. That's fine. Okay, we're done. All right. Okay, ready? I'm ready. Let's play the clips.
Okay. I typed in the chat that people can ask any technical questions they have, and we'll eventually make an episode about it. All right. First one is beloved Dave Pensado. Let me get my mic up in the speaker for you. I got a mic booster finally, so I don't have to blast the volume.
Let's go. So anyway, if you didn't know, we do Mixing Music Podcast is free, obviously, 1 episode a week. I do it with Lou. Braden's helping me out and doing the 2 extras. So what we do is if you sign up, it's $4 a month or $40 a year at mixingmusicpodcast.com/exclusive, then you get 3 times the amount of episodes. So 2 more episodes every single week, and they're 100% technical. And what we do is we take clips from famous mixers or other YouTube channels or things of that nature, then we expand on them and talk about how you can actually practically utilize them, and we give challenges at the end of every episode to help you become a better mixer, producer, mastering engineer, whatever the clips are about that day. So definitely worth checking out. So this is the first time we've ever actually live streamed the recording of this, if I'm not mistaken. I'm considering doing this more often, like recording live streaming the exclusive content. I think this is a good way to get people, like, it's exclusive, you have to pay for it, but you can also watch us record it for free. So it's more convenient if you pay for it. What I don't, yeah. Never mind. I'm gonna shut up. But let's listen to it. Let's listen. What's the first one about? It's Dave Pensado.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you enough.
Okay. The first one is how to deal with rejected mixes.
How to deal with rejected mixes.
Yep. And then, do you want me to just play that one, or do you want me to tell you what they all are, and then I'll just play them back to back to back?
Just go for it. Yeah.
Every top mixer on the planet, I know most of them, either by their work or in person, they've all had one or two mixes rejected in favor of the rough mix. And that rough mix probably took the artist or the producer maybe 30 minutes to an hour to do, and you spent 12 hours on your mix and it got rejected in favor of the rough mix. It's happened to everybody. And I think rather than get upset, let's ask ourselves, what was it about the rough that was created by a person with probably less skills than me makes it better? And when you answer that question, then you're really becoming a mix engineer, because that's the essence of what we do. In other words, we sometimes have a tendency to focus on the technical things, and nobody cares about that. They care about the energy and the vibe and the emotion. And that mix was done without thinking too much about the technical. It was just done by trying to get something done quickly and focusing on proportions in the mix, having all the tracks, work together. So see what you can learn from that.
Ah, there we go. That's a great clip. Let's listen to another one.
Yeah, next one is Greg Wells.
Greg Wells.
So I'm a big fan of kind of tape delay on a vocal, because it's not very accurate on top or bottom. It's all sort of mid-range, just like weird, kind of dreamy echo reflections. I like a little bit of modulation on that delay, just a bit, so it swims a little bit with the slow rate, not a fast rate, kind of dreamy. Same with reverbs. I like reverbs to be sort of dead on top. And my favorite reverb is the Capitol chambers, the live chambers that they have 30 feet under the floor down in the machine room at Capitol. That stuff just sounds amazing. It sounds really old-fashioned, but it just sounds musical and incredible. I hate really sibilant, accurate reverbs. It just sounds goofy to me. And to me, the best effect on a vocal is the right kind of compression and the right combination of compressors and how they react to each other. It is really incredible how compression affects so much more than volume.
Cool. So that's about vocal production. That's a great one.
Next one is David Wrench about DI guitars.
Who? What's the name?
David Wrench, like the tool.
What is it about? Sorry, what's it about?
DI guitars and how useful they are.
Okay, after this one, let's start recording.
So I'm not actually using the DI, but it's always handy when you're recording. Especially if you're not like 100% sure you're going to stick with the sound, it's good to have a DI of guitar and bass, because you can always then reamp with a slightly different sound. You can change the amp, you can change the guitar effects pedal. The first thing I did actually, once we were allowed to have people back in the studio here, was an album with Kelly from Block Party, and that was pretty much all him and guitar. And yeah, we DI'd everything, and then occasionally we'd spin it back out through amps to reamp with a slightly different sound, even if it's just to thicken the sound that's already there. But it was quite invaluable having that.
Okay. That's pretty straightforward. Let's start.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
That one, basically, I've just got questions for you to explain to people how to do it.
Cool. I'm ready whenever you are.
All right, let me get this all set up here. Turn my monitors off.
I don't know whether or not to record these live stream videos. I guess not, because we'd have to edit in the episode anyway. Whatever. Yeah, this might just stay exclusive podcast episodes. With the way that we have it now, it's just easier to do it that way.
Yep. Okie dokie. Let me get my recording going here.
Okay, ready?
I think so. Yep, I'm good to go.
All right, I'm recording as well.
Okay. And I'm just going to do one continuous recording. That made it super easy to edit last
Cool.
time.
Yeah, me too. Let's sync up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Cool. Let's get started. I'm ready. I'm pumped. I'm caffeinated.
All right, let's do it. Hello, our friends, and welcome back to this exclusive subscriber-only episode of the Mixing Music Podcast. Air horns. I'm your host for today, Braden from Flint Mastering, and joining me is the illustrious, as I said a few times ago, the beautiful, the sneakerhead, the awesome dad, the wonderful husband, Daddy DK. What's up, DK?
What up? Who knows? Maybe I could be like an abusive father. Who's to tell? You never know. No, I'm just teasing. I try to be a wonderful dad. Thanks for all the shout out. Let's get into today's episode. I'm really excited for these clips that you've been making recently. So.
Cool. Let's do it. So today we're going to listen to one from legendary engineer Dave Pensato. As I've said many times, we're going to listen to him all the time because he's super willing to share his knowledge and help us out. So today Dave is going to tell us about your mix versus the demo mix. And without further ado, Dave Pensato, roll the tape.
Cool.
Awesome. Oh,
sorry. All right, you go ahead.
You're good. Awesome. So in that clip, we heard Dave talk about how every top mixer at one point or another has had their mix rejected in favor of the demo mix. Wah, wah, wah. DK, has this ever happened to you? How do you deal with it? And what's the best way to avoid a scenario like this?
Okay. Has it ever happened to me? Yes, absolutely. And that's the mark of a true vet. It doesn't happen to me as much anymore, but it still does happen from occasion. In fact, because it happens less now, when it does happen, it probably hurts more now. How do I deal with it is a very important question. And I've talked about this previously on one of the free episodes of the podcast. But one of the ways that we need to change our thinking is that we know exactly what we're doing and there's nothing to learn from this experience. Every single time this happens, we need to drop our pride and figure out, what did we do wrong? What is there to learn? Now, there have been times where people use that as an excuse because they actually didn't want to pay for the second half of the mix, or whatever it was, and people have been trying to get out of actually committing to this mix thing, and it has nothing to do with the sound of the mix, which is a totally different story. But when this does happen, don't take it personally. First off, you never ever should take it personally. Take it as a learning opportunity. The artist is always right, and I find way too many engineers get prideful about it, take it personally, and start shit talking the artist, and that they don't know what sounds good and they don't know what's technically correct and whatnot. But sometimes technically correct is not what's best serves the song. How to avoid it is something that exactly what Dave Pensato said, like trying to recognize how to reference rough mixes better. Leslie always talked about this, is that whenever he gets rough mix, and he specifically says if the hi-hats are really, really loud, that's probably what made the rough mix special, what they want a little bit of that element to be replicated in the final mix. That was the vibe for them. That was the main point for them. So he's oftentimes going to leave the hi-hats really loud in the final mix as well, relatively loud within acceptable means, right? Within the acceptable boundaries, which is really, really interesting. One, I do think this is a form of cognitive bias here. I've had a whole episode about the Dunning-Kruger effect and cognitive bias, but I feel that people don't give each other enough credit, meaning that a producer and an engineer, yes, they're not mixers, but they've probably been doing their job for a while as well. And who's to say that them putting the hi-hats really loud, painfully loud, and honestly not serving the song distractingly loud may have been totally done on purpose. Who's to say that and we automatically assume and create false stories that they didn't know what the heck that they were doing. That's probably not true. We need to give each other more credit. And if it was done on purpose, that's going to be one of the things that they're looking for in the final mix. It's very, very important that we are humble. We don't take things purposefully, personally, and try to figure out. And lastly, try to figure out. I give credit to those that were working on the song before us. I think people don't do that enough. That's a low IQ move, is to suspect that nobody else knows how to mix other than yourself. That's a very low IQ move, and you got to learn other people do things on purpose. I think that's how you avoid it, and you get better at understanding things and understanding the client and communicating. You got to communicate with clients as well. And I could go on and on about just communicating with clients and how to set up expectations, but yeah.
Which I'm sure we will eventually do an episode on. We can get into the technical nitty-gritty of communicating with clients. But yeah, I also have had only one master ever rejected.
Okay, I don't know if that actually says that you're good or if you don't have enough experience. Let's be honest. I'm teasing.
No, I've experienced this as well, and it was rejected by some first-year Belmont students, actually. They gave me a reference, and so I kind of matched the reference in volume. And then one of them was like, it's too loud, it's too compressed. And I was like, well, you gave me a reference that was really loud and really compressed, so I tried to match it. But I totally agree with everything that DK said. And I mean, just matching the vibe of the rough mix, or even in my case for mastering, not especially for mastering, matching the vibe of the mix and not changing things too drastically, especially because when you're dealing with the 2-track, small changes, you can really go hard on a song and completely change how it sounds. So yeah. And again, to DK's point, like, give everyone credit in the process. It's not because someone's an idiot. It's not because they don't know what they're doing. It may have been an intentional choice. So keep that in mind when mixing, and then just obviously do your best to make enhancements while keeping the original feel and vibe of the track. So yes, DK.
Also, one last point that I want to make, and I think this is actually secretly the most important point that Dave made during his little clip. Technical is always less important than serving the song or the emotional aspect of the song. Whenever I'm teaching interns or I'm helping students or whatever, one of the most important questions that I bring up every single time when we're critiquing a mix or critiquing their own mix or going over mixes or whatever, is what did that move of compression or turning up or down the drums or whatever, how did that change the emotion of the song? How did that change the feel of the song? This is very important to think about, and I feel like, especially in the beginning stages, I asked Leslie on his episode that he did with us on the podcast, what is an advanced level advice? Not beginner, not intermediate, but for like high-level mix engineers that know what they're doing, what is some advanced level advice? And almost every mixer that I've ever asked that to says the same thing, which is remember to serve the song. You got to be musical. Think emotionally. It's less and less. Once you learn all the technical stuff, it's like when you're learning a piano, like learning an instrument. You got to learn the scales. You got to learn chords and harmonies and different things. But after you learn those things, once you learn how to play Pro Tools like a boss and you know all the technical tools, then it's about playing the song musically. That's exactly what it is, and that's the advanced level. It's kind of silly to me how much people think that their mixing is better, but it's not, because it's not as musical or it doesn't serve the song as much. So you got to serve the song. You got to think emotionally. Ask yourself, how did this change the compression that I'm adding right now? How is this making the song feel different emotionally? And I think this should lead to the challenge that we put out for today, for every of our listeners, is something along the lines of when you mix a song and you compare against the rough, or you compare against other reference tracks or whatever you're doing, or you do maybe not one instance of compression is not going to change the song emotionally as you'd like to, but after a certain amount of moves or when you take a break, listen to before and after, whatever, however you reference your songs. listen to it and figure out what's different emotionally. Is it a lot more driving and aggressive? Is it a lot more easy listening and relaxed? It's surprising to me how much even 2 dB change of the drum placement, whether you turn the drums down 2 dBs or turn them up, can change the song, sometimes pretty dramatically. Just 2 dBs. That's barely audible. But that might be the threshold into making it feel very aggressive and forward to like a little bit more relaxed. So continue to think about those things. Serve the song and mix what's best emotionally for the song than to mix what's best technically for the song. Technicality will never ever win in advanced level mixing, and partially probably the reason why your mixes are getting outvoted by the rough.
Absolutely, 100%. And the last thing I will say is I was watching some videos on YouTube last night, and I came across a mixing mastering engineer that I knew who he was before, but watching some of his videos, he actually really goes for the feel and emotion of the song. Is Luca Predolesi. He does a lot of like EDM stuff, but a lot of what he does is like all about feel and vibe and emotion in the track. So check him out. That's another great resource for learning how to mix emotionally. And yeah, on that note, we'll go ahead and wrap up the episode. As always, time for the housekeeping. Join Mixing Music Discord if you haven't. Make sure you go to youtube.com/DK Mixes and subscribe for more exclusive content coming in the future. You can watch DK's live streams Fridays, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Twitch. Those are the best. They're awesome. Mixed Feedback Friday. And yeah, we've got merch now, which is, I believe, I hope I've been saying this right, mixingmusicpodcast.com/shop. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, sick. On the solo episodes I did, I plugged it, and I wasn't sure if I gave the right link or not.
Yeah.
But
you can always just test it. You know that, right? You could go to mixingmusicpodcast.com/shop and figure out if it works.
That's true.
But instead, you're just guessing. Like, let's continue to live life like that. Just
ain't nobody got time for that when I'm recording.
I'm teasing. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you're subscribed, really, you are the butter to my bread and the lifeblood to my organs. And
yeah, that was the last thing I was gonna say. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
I forgot to say at the beginning of the episode, but thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. And as always, we couldn't do this without you. So without further ado, we'll end this episode. DK, sign us off.
Oh. Happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy. Three claps for you to signify the end. Let's do the next one with Greg Wells.
Yep.
Also, as far as promotion, just promote the live stream, which is also available on YouTube. So mostly the YouTube, Twitch, and that's it. Like, not even the merch. Be like, and there's free stuff available. There's other things at links.dkmixes.com.
Okay.
Let's just do that, because that includes like the merch and the other things as well. Links.dkmixes.com. Just say subscribe to his YouTube channel, because I'm pushing YouTube really hard right now.
Okay. You got it, boss. All right.
And feel free to sign off. You don't have to have me sign off every single time. You can sign off too.
Okay. I think it's more fun when you do.
Okay.
All right, cool. Next episode. And yeah, we don't need to sync because we already did basically. Cool. Hello, and welcome back to another exclusive subscriber-only episode of the Mixing Music Podcast. Oh, yeah, baby. First and foremost, thank you to our subscribers. We love you. We appreciate you. We couldn't do this without you. I am your host for today, and as usual, I am Braden from Flint Mastering, and joining me today is the one and only, the Japanese mix engineer himself living in America, Daddy DK.
What up? It's your boy Daddy D. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, I am a Japanese mixer in America. That's a funny. I mean, I like that. Let's keep going. Today we have a really, really good clip. I'm really grateful that Braden picked this one out. Let's get to it.
All right, so today we're going to hear from Greg Wells, and Greg Wells is a legendary mix engineer. To give you an idea of how legendary, he has songs on over 130 million albums sold, and streaming numbers in the billions. He's literally worked, I can't even go down the list of all the people he's worked with because it's everyone.
And he's not just a mixer, he's also famous for being a producer, songwriter too. I think he like helped write the songs and produce the songs for Greatest Showman and other movies alongside just music. So he's obviously a pretty big deal. If you haven't heard about him, you should, especially if you're an engineer.
Yeah, he's the real deal. And in this clip, he's going to tell us about the way he likes to treat vocals a little bit, effects he likes on the vocals. And so without further ado, let's get right into it. Greg Wells, roll the tape. Sweet. So we heard from Greg in that clip talk about his kind of favorite delays, his favorite reverbs, what he likes about each one, and kind of also he talks about the most important thing he thinks on a vocal is compression, and that compression does way more than volume. It does a lot of tone shaping and adds character and vibe. So DK, tell us about kind of what you do with delays, what you do with reverbs, your compression settings, or maybe not necessarily settings, but your setup and kind of your favorites and how you like to approach those three effects on vocals.
Yeah, so first off, he mentioned, I assume this is a clip about vocal production in general. He starts off with tape delay, and I think that tape delay is actually super awesome. The way that it warbles in pitch, as well as, degrades the top and bottom end of the frequency spectrum. You can actually even like manipulate it even more depending on the plugin. And obviously if it's real tape, it sounds freaking dope. And the cool thing with like analog tape is that you have no idea what it's going to do. Like it's very, very imperfect. And it leaves weird artifacts, which is why it's so fun. Like that's what makes it stand out and makes it sound so cool. Usually tape delays are also mono, so something to think about. Like if you wanted to do ping pong or whatever, you got to do that with a separate plugin. Usually it's oftentimes not built in. Anyway, really great. I like the way that he said, yes, I also add in modulation to my delays. I think that's a really fun thing to do. Like it's boring if it's like a super clean delay. Like I liked having some character to it that makes it real fleshed out. One of the things I like to do is pitch shift the delays. It's a very DK thing. I pitch shift it by putting a little alter boy delay before the delay insert on the send, so that way it's like when it echoes, it's echoing in a different octave than the actual original thing that it's echoing. So really fun. Tape delay is way fun and definitely worth playing with. The point is, you feel free to keep it dirty. Reverb, he said he likes Capital Chambers. And specifically the reason why he said is because it's dirty and that it's low fidelity and it's not too clean. He said specifically, I don't like really clean reverbs. They're really sterile. And I think that is something that is talked about. I mean, analog equipment we've talked about in the past is inferior as far as like fidelity. Like analog equipment adds distortion and changes the signal a lot compared to digital equipment. So technically it's inferior, but the reason why we like it and people like it is because of those artifacts and its inferiority and like the artifacts that it leaves behind. They sound cool. And that's why it's cool. So same thing with reverbs. Like use modulation. One of my favorite, if you watch me mix on Twitch or on YouTube, when I live stream, I oftentimes have many presets of my Valhalla Vintage Verb, which I highly recommend, especially that's my standalone Desert Island reverb of all time. It's so flexible, and the modulation built into it, I always use like chaotic space and like heavy modulation and whatnot. That makes it really sound cool. Joshua likes to add wideners on specific delays, so it's like out of phase, and makes it feel like it's behind you, which is a really cool effect. Mess with your reverbs. Do more than just making it clean. You don't want clean reverbs. On Deverb, the default reverb in Pro Tools, Deverb, the church setting, like it kind of like pitches down, and it's this weird thing. So I highly recommend checking that out. Lastly, hold on, let's edit this out. Lastly, he talked about the right kind of compression. But let's before we talk about the compression, let's finish up talking about the effects. By the way, we got 10 minutes. Should we restart the Zoom now? Let's restart it. I don't know why my Zoom started doing that all of a sudden.
That's all right.
Or no, let's finish the episode. We got it.
Yeah, we got time.
My Zoom has never done this before.
Huh. Weird. They're cracking down.
I asked you what you thought about effects.
I'm sorry. Okay, let's start with you asking me the question again.
Braden, before we go on into the compression of the reverbs, any other thoughts that you have about effects?
Honestly, pretty much the only thought I have on effects, since I don't really use them that much, is don't overdo it. I know that when I first started mixing and trying to produce records and things like that, I was like, oh, my vocal doesn't sound big enough. It needs 8 different kinds of reverb on it. And I'd put all the reverbs on, I'd turn them all up to 100%. And then it was like just this huge wash of sound that was not good to listen to. Same with delays. I would throw 3-4 different delays on there. And the other thing too is I would say spend a good amount of time learning how to use your delays and reverbs, because I remember when I first started, when you're listening to a vocal, you don't really pay attention to the reverbs and delays until they get to the end of the phrase, and then there's a tail on the end of it. And the tail is really nice. And I always used to just like throw up like a stock delay or reverb and put it on a vocal and then be like, well, why doesn't the tail sound good? Why can I hear the reverb while they're singing? And it was because I didn't take enough time to go into the plugin and adjust the settings to where that was going to be the case. And, in this clip, Greg Wells even talks, I'm pretty sure he even talks about tails on reverbs, and they just have like a beautiful tail end to them. So that's something I would say play around with a lot. Don't overdo it a ton on the vocal effects, and I think you'll be good. So DK, you can tell us about compression on vocals now.
Yeah, so I like what he says. Compressors are different. And he not only says use the right compressor, but use the right combination of compressors. I wish I had a formula that this works every single time. I have a habit where I use like a slow optical type compressor first, and then a FET very fast 1176 type compressor towards the end of my chain that I usually end up building out. Sometimes I don't use any of them. Like oftentimes I get vocals that are already compressed, so I don't use anything. And that was the right move. You never know. But the point is to be thoughtful about the compressors that you're putting on your vocals. Really, really important. And the combination does matter, especially if you can overcompress vocals, and that can get really, really annoying. Sometimes you can get away with compressing. Like sometimes the way to fix overcompressed vocals is by compressing it more. It doesn't work all the time. It's a very last resort type thing. But yes, it's important to get compression right on the vocals. Just be thoughtful about it. Think musically. The release is a big deal. That's all I'm going to say. Release is a big deal, and don't let it pump. Don't let it suck. Both in like the sucking and squeezing type motion, but as well as like don't let it suck as in be bad. But yeah, get the right combination there. I think that's all I have to say. A lot of compressors have different harmonic saturation built into the plugin, especially our analog, but right. Sometimes it serves the song, and sometimes it serves the vocals, and sometimes it doesn't. Just be aware. And try your very best. And the more you experimenting and trying different things is very highly recommended, and I think should be the challenge of today's episode. Maybe the challenge should be that you try different compressors than you're used to on your vocal. Try different delays than you're used to. Experiment. Like when you try, the cool thing about trying fresh new plugins that you've never used before is that you're forced to experiment and try out different functions and different parameters in the plugin, because you don't know what's going on. You've never used it before. You got to tweak it. So when you're tweaking it, you're paying attention. So try new plugins this week. Try new compressors that you've been meaning to use, or the old ones that you haven't used in a while, and see how it reacts to the vocal and see if it serves the song, and be open to the idea that it may not. That's the hardest thing, is knowing when something doesn't work is one of the hardest skills as an engineer. So something to think about.
Absolutely. And I totally agree 100%. That's one of the hardest parts to know, is when to not do anything. It's so hard to know. But follow the challenge, do what DK says, and you will be successful. Over and out. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, to the housekeeping. Make sure you guys go to youtube.com/DK Mixes and subscribe. Check out DK's live streams. You can also watch basically replays of those. They're recorded. You can watch those on YouTube. The live streams are twitch.tv/DK Mixes. And for other super cool free stuff and help, you can go to links.dkmixes.com. As always, thank you to our subscribers. We love you. We appreciate you. And we hope that you're enjoying these episodes. As always, send us questions if you want us to do episodes specifically tailored to what you need to know. You can send them to me on Instagram @FlintMastering, and we'll get those all good and ready to go. And we'll make an episode just for you. We'll probably even give you a shout out if you want.
Yeah, to be honest, the community, the subscriber community is still fairly small, so we'll be able to shout you out. And this is actually pretty personal. And we have a
Yep.
bunch of people subscribed, but it's still small enough that if we went to college together, we'd know each other.
Exactly. So cool beans. Well, we'll wrap the episode up there. DK, sign us off.
Happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy. All right, let me restart the Zoom
Okay.
thing. Uh-oh, why is my Zoom doing that? I've never had to do the 10 minutes for Zoom new Zoom update. Huh? What the? Oh, I gotta do this bullshit Nikes again. All right, hold on. Give me a second. This is some BS. I hate doing this every single time. All right, and then we're gonna put this back up to 4K. Boom. I'm gonna invite my boy Braden. Hello, how's everybody in the chat doing? Thank you for listening, Susie Otto. And for finding us on Audible. That's a cool place to find us. I love Audible. I'm constantly listening to audiobooks on Audible. Love it. Thanks for following on the Twitch. Oh, perfect timing. Look at that. Look at that. Coming in clutch. ATX Flinty. Flint, my boy. Oh, yes. Oh, should I let him in? I think I'm going to let him in. Oh, yes. Hello, Braden.
Hello.
Oh, yes. Hello. I heard myself. Oh, that sounds creepy.
I've got the stream pulled up.
All right, let's get right into it. Oh, hold on, wait a second. Let me switch over. Boom. All right.
Oh yeah, this one is. Remind me.
This is a good one.
Yeah, David Wrench, the DI guitars.
Oh, this is gonna be easy.
We ready?
No, give me a second.
Okay.
Give me a second. Give me a second. Hold on 1 second.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Hey, type something in chat real quick. Yeah, we're good. Let's go. Something in chat. All right. That. Okay. Let's go.
All right. Beginning of the episode. Here we go. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another exclusive subscriber-only episode of the Mixing Music Podcast. First and foremost, thank you to our subscribers. We love you, we appreciate you, and we couldn't do this without you. I am your host for today, Braden from Flint Mastering, and joining me today is
Our lovely overlord.
Daddy DK. What's
Yes,
up?
sir. Sorry, you said you were thinking I was like lovely overlord. I was just trying to sneak it in for you, real quick. I'm cool with that. Lovely overlord. That's like the most communist thing.
That time I was trying to do like the Reed Stefan thing where he has the puppet come up and he's like, "It's production time." Have you seen those videos?
No, I have no clue what you're talking about, which makes it even
Okay.
funnier.
Cool.
But this is a good clip that you brought up today. Let's get right into it.
All right, cool. So this clip is from David Wrench. He is a Grammy-nominated mix engineer. The two biggest artists he's worked with that I could find, maybe I just don't know the others, but the ones that I knew are Frank Ocean and Glass Animals. And as we all know, Heat Waves has been on the top charts for who knows how long.
Dude, they've been killing it.
Like
Heat
Frank Ocean is massive. So David Wrench is the man. He knows what he's doing. And in this clip, he's going to talk about guitar DI and the importance of it. So without further ado, let's get right into it. David Wrench, roll the tape. Cool beans. So David talks in that clip about the importance of having a DI track because of the flexibility it affords you when mixing guitars, reamping guitars, and basically anything you need to do with a guitar. And currently, a lot of pop music is guitar loop based and guitar riff based. So, DK, talk us through the process of using DIs, or like doing a guitar DI and then reamping. And then I've got another question for you when you're done with that.
Okay, so how DI works, let me talk about that first. If you haven't used DIs, they're really, really great. They're often used on sound. They convert instrument level to line level. Oh my gosh, I'm second guessing myself. They convert the signal to be balanced or something like that. Anyway, dude, I really sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. But the point is that it's important. I don't use them that much, obviously. But the cool thing is that there's an input, so you can plug your guitar or bass or whatever into the DI. Then there's an out. You could go into the console, but there's usually also a pass-through as well, so you can actually like double it and use the pass-through into a guitar amp. So you can record the actual amp, but as well as send the DI signal to your interface directly. So you can actually record 2 tracks of guitars. One is the clean DI guitar track, and the other one is the microphone picking up the amp, which is a really, really great combo. I love that he says that you should record the DI signal for just in case only. Many times, especially like during weird times in the 80s and 90s, like the whole DI sound was actually really cool. I've heard Corey Wong talk about how that's a tone that he likes to use sometimes for his own stuff or Wolfpack stuff, which is like very interesting. But anyway, DI guitars is really great. Reamping is then what you do is you send the output from the interface, and again, using like a reamping box to convert the signal back into an amp. So then you take that totally dry, clean guitar tone. Instead of playing a track again, you can change the tone of the amp or the recording by sending that DI signal or that clean guitar DI guitar signal into an amp and recording that amp. So it's one really cool way. So you send it out and then also record the microphone if you want a different amp. So you can actually test out multiple different amps. But I think recently they've been using the word reamping for, really just totally changing the guitar tone with VSTs and virtual amps. So like oftentimes I love it when clients send me both their amp settings for their guitars, their dirty amp settings, but also sends me a clean DI setting. So if I want to change the tone of the guitar for mixing purposes, then I'll do that, and I'll be able to do that. And I can't do that without the clean DI signal. So yeah, I think it's a great idea, having it just in case, and probably won't ever use it. Hopefully, the goal is to not ever use it because the tone that you're trying to get is good to begin with, but it is a great idea to always have a backup so you don't have to re-record and replay the guitar every single time you need a different tone.
So what does the DI tone sound like? Does it just sound like a electric guitar with like not turned on, basically?
Yeah. It doesn't sound like there's any amp in the way. It's just the cleanest. It's straight up pickups into the interface.
Cool.
So like it's pretty twangy. It's pretty bright. It's really transient, and like there's lots of transients in it. It's really punchy in that sense. It's interesting. Sometimes it's usable by itself, but it sounds most of the time sounds like shit because the way that we're used to hearing guitars is through amps.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I know you said you don't do like reamping super often, but if you do reamp, do you have like a favorite kind of guitar amp that you like to use that you recommend to people, or a favorite plugin, like a reamping plugin?
So what I do recently, my favorite reamp plugin that I've been using for clean tones or dirtying up already dirty tones is the Corey Wong Archetype by Neural DSP. Oh my gosh, let me get the company name right. Is it?
I think that sounds right to me. It's either that or like STL tones. Those are the two big reamp.
Yeah, the Corey Wong by Neural DSP. That's what it was. I love Corey Wong. I'm a huge fan of Wolfpack and Corey Wong. So Corey Wong Archetype sounds great. It's really, really flexible. Has some DI options as well. Bass is oftentimes like it's not weird for a bass to use just the DI signal because it is cleaner and punchier. So like, you don't have to use an amp. Oftentimes it is just the DI signal, but like it's got really awesome things that you can use for bass. It's got DI chains as well, so like you got old Motown type, old vintage DI tones, which is cool. You can break up the DI signal, so it's not super clean, it's not super dirty like an amp, but it's also not super clean like just straight into the computer. It's got like different pedals, compressor, it's got reverb and delays, and it's really dope. Lou and I, we have a reamp box at the studio. Sometimes we've gone out. I personally have a Fender Bassman. and I love that sound. I like the thickness of different tones, but that's personal preference as well, what serves the song. So there's really no right amp. The right amp is the one that you have, and that's what it is. So I'd recommend, like something to consider. I do think if instead of buying an amp and buying a DI box, like buying a really good virtual instrument is actually the way to go. I think some of these like Neural DSP is really, really great for, and then there's like also like Amp Effects, another company that does them as well. There's a lot of good VIs, virtual instruments, and virtual VSTs. These plugins that do a really, really good job emulating the breakup and the dynamics, the tones of guitars, all in the box. So it's something worth considering. And I think every mixer should have some type of at least one or two go-to amp emulations for this exact situation. So
Yeah, and I obviously I don't do any reamping in mastering.
You don't reamp an entire 2-track and just let it go through the
just send it back out through a Marshall. No, but I am pretty, well, I shouldn't say pretty big, but I really like metal music. And I know that reamping is like super popular in metal. There's like the Neural DSP. They make like 9 million different archetype, basically virtual amps that you can DI your guitar into. And like every single like metal mix engineer has their Neural DSP archetype guitar tone pack, and it has like 40 different guitar amps that they've recorded, and you can kind of go through the list and pick one, or you can just, come up with your own amp settings. But that's about as much as I do with DI and reamping is watching YouTube videos on which mix engineers have which one and which one they like to use for metal music.
Yeah,
so
it's true. And the cool thing about doing it virtually as well is that remember that you're taking the DI track, the clean track, and then you're putting it through processing. And oftentimes the processing has compression built in. I mean, when you have a very dirty amp, it's compressing the signal. It's not a compressor, but like it's clipping the signal, compressing the signal, especially if it's dirty. If you're able to like do a gate or manually cut out and edit, like if you're doing cha-chunk, cha-chunk, and there's space in between, if you cut out and edit out the space in between, you're going to get cleaner tones because you're cutting it out before it compresses. Where if you reamp or if you have a dirty tone, it's a little bit harder to do. Or like, so you got to remember, like if you have a DI track, it's still the amp, you can't turn it off between the stuff. So anyway, it's just a little bit cleaner as well. I think there's something to do with like signal chain that we're going to talk about. It's cleaner and easier to modify and edit virtual digital stuff. So go ahead, every mixer, it doesn't matter what company you use, find one that you're comfortable using and that's flexible. I really like the Corey Wong archetype. I think it's really flexible. You won't get super metal sounds, so if you're like a metal mixer, use something else. It's fantastic. Use Neural DSP. I'm really happy with the results I get from all of their products.
So our challenge this week is go buy a reamping plugin.
There's also a bunch of free ones.
Don't do that. Yeah, but no, seriously, you can try if you have a guitar, you have a friend that has a guitar and a DI box and whatever, maybe get together with that friend and try DIing something and then testing out some free reamp boxes or whatever and see what kind of tones you can get and see if you like it better than just recording a normal amp. And when DK was saying you can't turn the amp off in between like playing, that put like such a funny image in my head. There's like some guy in the band that like that's just his job is when they're recording. He's just flipping the amp on and off in between like the chugs in the metal breakdown.
That would be wild.
But, I mean, I wouldn't put it past the metal community. They are wild, so it's awesome. But anyway, that'll do it for this episode. As always, make sure you go subscribe to youtube.com/DK Mixes for more content there. You can watch DK's live streams on twitch.tv/DK Mixes. And for a bunch of other super cool free stuff and helpful tips and tricks and content, you can go to links.dkmixes.com. And as always, thank you so much for subscribing. I didn't have anything to say that I remembered. Thank you for subscribing. We love you. We appreciate you. And we couldn't do this without you. I know I say that in the exact same order every time, but I mean it. We really mean it. We appreciate you. And
happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy.
Boom.
All right, I gotta pee again.
Okay.
I learned that caffeine is a diuretic, so it makes me want to pee, even though there's not that much that comes out. So I've been on my never mind. I'm not. But let's get into the next. Do you want to do another clip? Do you want to have it even four? Or do you want to end it today with?
Yeah, let's do one more because then we can get 2 weeks ahead, and then when we record next week, we can get 2 more weeks ahead, and then it'll just kind of.
Should I stop the recording, or should we keep the Pro Tools recording going?
Just keep the Pro Tools recording going because I'm gonna do.
Pee real quick, though. I'm gonna pee real quick.
Yep. Cool.
Just pull it up. Prepare the clip.
Yep.
Don't you have to stop the recording though to play the clip, or?
Oh yeah. That's okay. I'll stop it and then I'll make a marker.
I'm stopping mine too. I'll give you one file, but yeah, there'll be a marker. I really got to pee. Sorry, y'all. Hold on. Give me a second. Thanks for joining in. Whoever just joined in, we just had a small influx of people joining in. Yeah, drink your water. Stay hydrated. Take care of yourself. I'll be right back.
I'll keep them entertained while you're gone. I'll stand up and dance or something.
Yeah, prove it. No, you won't. Prove it. No, you won't. I'm gonna make you stick to it. Stop. You're embarrassing all of us. Your ancestors are embarrassed. You've dishonored them.
Hey, I said I'd stand up and dance, so I did it. I didn't say what kind of dance it was going to be. I didn't say it was going to be a Fortnite dance. Cool. Well, it looks like we've got more people tuning in, watching the stream. If you guys have any technical questions in the chat, feel free to answer them. No, don't feel free to answer your own questions. Feel free to ask them, and we'll see if we can put together an episode answering any questions you have about mixing or mastering. So, that's actually what we'll need to do next. I'm not going to play a clip. We are going to answer a listener question. So I could have actually, I guess, kept the recording going. Anyway, hope everyone's doing good. I gotta respond to an important work email here. No, but seriously, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask it. DK is super smart. He's an incredible mix engineer, and he's always incredibly willing to answer any questions you might have. So, but yeah, or you can just say whatever you want in the chat. Not whatever you want. Don't say whatever you want, but
Lego on the way back. Oh, my son, that just hurt. All right, let's go. Let's get into it.
You know what I realized?
What up, chat? By the way, say hi if you're here. What up, chat? What up, chat? Welcome to exclusive. We're recording the exclusive episode. So the only way that you can actually hear this content is if you pay for it. But luckily, we're recording and live streaming it for free. What's up, chat?
So let's not do a clip. Let's answer the listener question we've got.
What is the listener question?
The one that he sent you that said, "Hey, I hopped on the exclusive member podcast because I ain't no bitch." He said, "I was wondering if you could do an episode on compressors as far as pumping and attack and release."
Okay, so no clip.
Yeah, no clip. We'll start. I'll say we're going to do a listener question. I'll read the question, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, this is interesting. Yeah. Let's do that. I think that's a great episode idea.
Yeah, let's do it.
What's up, producer Pezzy? What up? Okay, hold on. Let me record Pro Tools.
Yep, I'm recording as well. And we'll do a marker.
You want to sync up?
Yes, give me one
second.
second.
Sync.
Member question episode. All right, let's sync it. 3, 2, 1, clap. 3, 2, 1, clap. 3, 2, 1, clap. Hello, and welcome back to another exclusive subscriber-only episode of the Mixing Music Podcast. First and foremost, thank you. We love our subscribers. We appreciate you. We couldn't do this without you, and we'd give you all a huge hug if you were here with us in person. And I'm your host for today, Braden from Flint Mastering, and joining me is our fearless overlord, Daddy DK.
You said fearless. I like that. Fearless. I wish I was more fearless, and maybe a part of me is. I'm trying to figure that out. I wish to become more fearless. That's a good attribute to have. Imagine being known for being fearless. That's like the sauce to greatness.
I mean, I feel like you're pretty fearless.
Thank you.
When I saw in LA, you just go talk to anybody, walk around,
Just
Do whatever you want. Yeah.
I don't know if that's fearless or just like blissful or stupid or something, but like, sure, fearless. Yeah, let's just use the better word that makes me sound better.
I forgot the other adjective you used, so I threw fearless in there. So
Let's do it. But today, what are we doing? We're doing something different. We're not using a clip.
Yes.
We're
no clip. We're doing a listener question.
Sometimes we answer listener questions with clips, but this one we're actually just answering them straight up.
We're just gonna.
Who's this from?
Yeah.
Who's it from?
I don't know. The picture you sent me doesn't have their name in it.
Oh, I should look it up. Oh, hold on. Give me a second. Let's clip this out.
Yeah.
Let me read it too.
Okay.
That's right. He said, "Thanks for listening to the podcast because I ain't no bitch."
That's the one.
Where is it? Where is it? I get so many DMs that it's probably buried by now. When did I send it to you? What's the date of receipt?
Let me look. The date of receipt is Wednesday at 1:11 p.m.
Wednesday is how many days ago?
Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Thursday, 5 days ago. Maybe 6 if you count today.
Okay, hold on. 5 days ago. Oh, here it is. Okay, yeah, it's from. The question today is from OK Baby on Instagram. He DM'd me, "Hey, I hopped on the exclusive member podcast because I ain't no bitch." That's what it literally says. It literally says that. So I think that means none of y'all are bitches. Thanks for joining. I love that intro. That's how every DM should go on. And he says, "But I was wondering if you could do an episode on compressors as far as pumping and attacks and release times. When I use a compressor, I mainly just feel when I adjust the knobs, but technically I don't know what I'm doing, lol. And I feel like pumping could help my game or certain things, but I'm not sure how to achieve it." That's a great question. I don't think we've done many episodes and many different pieces of content on compressors, but I don't think we've done too much about specifically the attack and release times, which is very important and very interesting. So let's talk about that. And I think that you're able to talk about that from a mastering standpoint, and I'm able to talk a little bit about that as well. But I'll talk about specifically from a mixing standpoint on different sources as well. So attack and releases from different sources. So do you have? Should I just start answering, or do you want to like introduce it in a different way?
Go right ahead. That's perfect. And maybe like it looks like he's kind of wondering how you get like a pumping sound out of a compressor too. So we could address that because that's all in relation to attack and release. So
I'm going to talk about how to avoid the pumping sound, or how attack and release works, and then how that can lead to avoid it. Because sometimes we want to avoid it at all costs. Other times we like that sound. But most of the time I would say that most people send me mixes where the pumping is not on purpose. So first off, I want to be very, very clear. How to hear compressors. You got to remember that compressors are a dynamic processor. They change the amplitude of a signal. So they're not meant to change. In a perfect world, if compressors were totally clean, they're not meant to change the top end or the bottom of the mid-range. They're not supposed to change the tonal balance of a track. But they do because they're imperfect and they're not super duper clean. But they're really just meant to be volume control. So when I listen to a song on the radio, I don't have to turn down the volume during the choruses and turn it up during the bridge because it's hard to hear what he's saying. It's meant to kind of like normalize the amplitude of the signal. Anyway, so this is really important to understand. Back in the day, before compressors were invented, there was a dude who was at the mixing board whose job was to anticipate the singer. When they were going to get to a loud part, he had to turn down the microphone, turn down this fader, and when it gets to the soft part, he turns up the fader. And that was his job. And when compressors were invented, that guy was fired. Poor dude. And that's kind of the point of it. I want you to think about a compressor is basically a dude moving a fader and anticipating when things get loud and soft, or reacting. It's more reactive, right? So when a compressor passes this threshold and it gets too loud, the compressor is turning down the fader. But of course, the way that it's cutting the signal and compressing the tone is actually going through components, so it's actually changing. It's distorting a little bit. And it's changing the actual sounds of the signal. That's why some compressors have like really nice mid-range and may feel very airy or feel warm. It's because it's going through components and resistors, which do that. They change the sound just a touch. So anyway, let's go into attack time. Attack time, just basic stuff, is actually, contrary to popular belief, it's not how quickly the compressor starts working. Actually, every single compressor starts as soon as the volume passes the threshold, as soon as the signal passes the threshold. It starts at 0. The attack time is not a delay of when it starts. It's actually how quickly it ramps up to the desired gain reduction. For example, if you're at a 2-to-1 ratio, that means for every 2 dBs it goes over the threshold, only 1 dB passes through. So if I have 10 dBs pass the threshold for an instant, for a moment, let's just say for the sake of this, it's a sine wave and it's just constant 10 dBs past the threshold. As soon as it starts, it's supposed to be 10 dBs is supposed to be minus 5 dBs of gain reduction, right? Because it's 2-to-1 signal. 10 dBs past the threshold. So anyway, so once we do that, the attack time, every single one starts at 0. Every single compressor starts at 0. Attack time indicates how quickly or how many milliseconds or microseconds or whatever seconds, whatever the time, whatever the constraints are, how long it takes for it to ramp up to minus 5 dBs of gain reduction. So if it's at a 30 millisecond attack time, it's going to take 30 milliseconds for it to ramp up to hit minus 5 dBs of gain reduction. That's the one misconception. Every single compressor does start at 0 on whatever. We're not even going to talk about, what is it called? Not overclocking. I've been watching way too many Linus Tech Tips. Not oversampling either, but look ahead. Is it called look ahead? I'm not going to talk about look ahead, which is kind of like anticipating. But anyway, that's something to think about. So the slower the attack, the more transient is going to let through. So for example, with a snare, if you have a snare, pa, pa, and you want to, because it's a live snare and every single snare hit, this one's this loud, not as loud. So you want each snare hit to be a little bit more consistent. We put a compressor on it. Now, if we have a very, very fast attack time, it's going to squish the snap out of the snare. It's literally going to squish the snap out of the snare. That initial transient is going to be gone. It might even distort the signal because it's really hard to do very, very fast attack time without distorting the signal. It's just really difficult to do with components and oftentimes these virtual compressors are emulating it. Even virtually, it's difficult to do. So it's just acoustically, or what's the word? Physics. Yeah, physically difficult to do. Anyway, so what we do is if we do a super fast time, you're not going to get that transient to come through. This is really, really great, like in the mastering phase, or if you want to it's almost like clipping. You're just cutting off the transient, but I will say that you're losing the sound of the transient, but it is still practical. So like all limiters have a very, very fast attack time because the brick wall limiter, you want nothing to pass through. So it's like a very fast, immediate attack time. All right, so that's important. And then you have the release time, or so if you have a slow attack time, you're going to have a little bit more transient come through. So mess with this, put on a snare track and do a lot of compression, like minus 10 dBs or more of gain reduction, and mess with the attack time with the snare. You're going to hear it go like really smash to like and really fast transient signals. That's really hard to do with my mouth. But like you kind of get the idea. You're going to hear how much of that initial transient is left in. So if you leave the initial transient left in, remember, that's why some people say that compressors with slow attacks make the signal more punchy. Reality is compressors do not make anything more punchy. They make things more flat and sterile as far as dynamics go, but that being said, you are a lot more in control, and that's kind of where the idea of punchiness comes from, because you're lowering the signal after the immediate transient, so you're emphasizing that transient. So in a mastering phrase, that doesn't actually give you more headroom. That actually might be the bane of your headroom, is leaving those transients in. So it's hard to balance that out. Okay, but as far as like release is where the pumping comes in. release is how quickly it goes back down. Once it goes below the threshold, how quickly does the signal let go of the gain reduction and the gain reduction actually release back to 0? Because it's not just like hit it and it immediately goes back. So if it's like a very, very fast release time, especially like with limiters, for example, every time that there's a poke that goes past the threshold, it immediately brings the volume back down. So it's like very fast compression movements. The faster it is, typically, the less pumping that you're going to hear. Very slow compression, very slow release times is still very useful because it's very useful for macro dynamics we've talked about in the past, where like your verse section is quieter than your chorus section. So you put in your mix bus, you do a very slow release compressor, so it doesn't actually, so it actually glues the sections together rather than the kick and the snare independently. So it's kind of like, it's really cool. It's smoother. And some songs, like too fast of a release time, causes some artifacts, distortion, maybe even some pumping. And sometimes the slower you go, the smoother it is. So you really got to balance. They react differently for different sources. The slower it is, for example, if you hyper compress a drum bus with hi-hats and everything, if the release is too fast, then every snare hit, the hi-hats are going to come back really, really loud too, because it's immediately going to boost the signal again, right? And while the hi-hats are still, so it's really annoying. So if you want less hi-hats in your drum bus, slow the release time down. That's one practical application. So a lot of time these mixers will actually set the release time musically to kind of the tempo of the song. They don't actually, like, most people do not actually measure out the specific milliseconds is within the micro beats of the song or whatever, but it's important to set your release times to be the most musical. And the slower the release time, the longer it's going to take for that to come back down, but smoother it can be. The faster the release time, the more artifacts you're going to have, the more sustain you're going to get. So that's just something to think about. Sorry, I'm done. I just went on a rant. What do you think?
No, that's great. So coming from, well, here's the first thing I want to say is if you want a really bad, well, it actually kind of sounds like it was on purpose. If you want to hear actual pumping of a compressor in a song, listen to the song. Oh, where did it go? Okay, it's On a Roll, the Dallas K remix by Ashley O and Dallas K. Okay, Ashley O is actually Miley Cyrus. It's like a different alias that she has or something. But yeah, On a Roll.
That's such a random alias. Ashley O.
I think she was on some TV show and that was her. She was on like Broken Mirror or whatever that show was. I don't know, but that was her alias. So she used it for an artist thing. But you can literally hear her voice when she does these like held out notes. Her voice turns down. It just like totally ducks and then it comes back up. And like in a professionally made song, I've never heard like serious pumping. And in this song, it is like so apparent. Like her voice, you can just hear it. It's like somebody just turned her voice down and turns it back up. It's really wild. So there's an example of that. In terms of compression for in a mastering setting, from my perspective, I actually prefer not to compress hardly ever. I try really hard not to compress the master. I just feel like for my own personal taste, I will always at least try a compressor on whatever song I'm mastering. And then I'll make sure to get the gain matching correct. So it's not making the signal louder or not. And that's one thing I would suggest when you're testing a compressor, make sure you turn the output down so that it's not doing some like gain compensation to turn it back up for the gain reduction it's doing. That way you can actually hear what the sound sounds like compressed versus your old sound and not just louder and compressed versus your old sound. So anyway, whenever I put compressor plugins on and I bypass back and forth, I just don't really find I like the sound of it. I prefer songs to be a little more open and breathing and bright. And I just feel like every time I use a compressor, it clamps down on that and kind of rains on my parade, for lack of a better term. That being said, compression is super popular with mastering engineers. And actually, so a couple weeks ago, I went to Nashville and I met with Nathan Dantzler of the Hit Lab. He has 2 Grammy Awards. He did Love Me Like You Do by Ellie Goulding. He did Slow Hands. Just done some massive records. He mastered like a Kelsey Ballerini album right in front of me. It was insane. I couldn't believe it. But he also said, he was like, I don't want to use any compression in mastering. He's like, I try not to do it as much as possible. So with all that said, when I do use compressors, I typically, I'm using them for one of two things. One is to control peaks that are really popping out. So sometimes I get songs where the snare drum is really pokey or the kick drum is really pokey. And so I'll adjust the settings on the compressor to where it's only reacting to the transient hits. It's not compressing anything else. And if it is, it's barely doing anything. And I'll use the delta feature that's on compressors a lot to make sure I'm only compressing, I'm hearing what it's compressing, and I'm just doing the peaks and the transients. So I'll do that. And that's basically just to give myself more headroom so I don't have to do as much clipping. So I can do a little bit more compression, push the peaks down. And then that way, once I get to the clipping stage, I'm not totally just lopping off the top of the transients like I might be otherwise. The second reason I would use a compressor is purely just tone and glue, just to kind of pull the song together a little bit better. And so far, the only compressor I've really found that I like doing that is the Manley Varimu. And my settings on that, pretty slow attack, just kind of let everything through for the most part, because I'm going to use a clipper or limiter to catch the rest of it later on. And then it kind of depends on the song. Sometimes I'll do a really fast release because I just want it to let go. I don't want it to do a whole lot, but most of the time it's kind of a medium to slowish release, just so that the track is smooth. And again, you don't get that pumping. Like DK said, if the release is too fast, then that's what can cause the pumping. If the attack and release ratio,
if it's super duper fast, if it's fast enough that it won't be noticed, then it won't cause pump. There will be pump, but it won't be really audible. But if it's fast but slow enough that you can hear it return back to its original state, that's when you get the pumping.
Yes, exactly. And especially with a full 2-track, sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult to hear pumping because the whole song's going on the whole time.
I will say that there's a lot of compressors, like 1176 is famous for doing this. I used to do this a lot for 808s and distorting 808s when I had outboard 1176. If you do the fastest attack and fastest release, that's how you distort compressors. So you can use that as a distortion box. And then the attack knob then becomes like how much distortion you want. So if you go slower on the attack, then it distorts the signal less.
There you go.
So, so if you do, that's just how the components work. It just distorts the signal if the attack, because it's a very fast FET compressor. So if it's at the fastest release and attack settings, I don't think you have to worry about that as much as for VCA compressors like SSL G-Bus or anything like that. But for the 1176 specifically, very fast compressor, sometimes it distorts it. It's really difficult to create very clean, fast attack and release compressors and limiters.
Yes. And that's honestly to get, kind of going back to the question, to get a pumping effect, it's just getting the right settings between the attack and the release. And that's going to vary from song to song.
The relationship between the two.
Yes, just because the harder you go on the actual ratio knob, the easier it will be to create a pumping effect because it's smashing things down more. But the relationship between the attack and the release is really where you're going to find the trick to making things pump. And it just matters from song to song because it's going to depend on the speed of the song, how quick the transients are coming between each other, how quick notes are coming between each other. And, so like DK said, sometimes people will match milliseconds to the tempo of the song to make sure there isn't any pumping or things like that. But that's basically kind of my thoughts on pumping, compression and mastering in a nutshell. So there you have it.
Oh, and I think that's a great place to end the episode. So the challenge today is focus on using your compressors on different sources, not just vocals, not just drums, but different sources, and really, really try to do hyper gain reduction, like lots of gain reduction, so it's doing a lot, and mess with the attack and release knob so you can really hear what it's doing. Try to get it to pump. Try not to get it to pump. And the pumping is easy to do when you do if you have a kick drum heavy song, like a trap song or hip hop song, and then you use a mix bus compression, and do different stems, do different tracks, and then also do it on the mix bus and have different settings with different compressors. They all sound different. try to get the pumping, try to avoid the pumping at all costs, and pay attention to what that sound like. Again, it's not meant to. Don't pay attention to how it changes the tone. It's the amplitude. It's the dynamics. So it's you have to listen to it differently than an EQ.
Yep, exactly. And with that, we'll do a little housekeeping. Make sure you subscribe to youtube.com/DK Mixes for more content. You can watch DK's live streams, twitch.tv/DK Mixes, Friday mornings, Pacific Standard Time for Mix Feedback Friday. Those VODs also go onto YouTube. So again, subscribe there. And for other cool and free and helpful content, links.dkmixes.com. So we'll wrap the episode up there. DK, sign us off.
Happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy.
Cool. I'm going to stop the recording right there.
Me too. Cool, we got 4. Hey,
There
can
we
we
go.
make this like a scheduled thing where like Monday mornings we do this?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go
Cool.
ahead and so it's because I'm 2 hours ahead of you since I'm in Texas. So is there a time in the morning that works best for you?
Is 11 too early for you? Like my 11, your 9?
No, that would make me 1 in the afternoon if it's 11 for you. So that'd be great.
Oh, what if we do 10 then? Is noon? Is that when you eat lunch?
No, noon is perfect. Yeah.
Noon 30.
Yep.
Noon 30. Final answer.
Okay.
'Cause-
Noon 30.
Or no. 10:30. 10:30. Final answer. Your noon 30. My 10:30.
Yep. Yep.
Final answer. Let's do that.
Cool.
Okay, I'm gonna get off this live stream. We're gonna go live again in 30 minutes. So I'm gonna get off, eat some lunch. I'm gonna send you this file.
Sounds
we'll go
good.
Live again. Yep.
Cool.
Peace.
Yep. See ya.
Alrighty. Thanks for subscribing, watching the Mixing Music Podcast, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube. Thank you so much. Like the video, subscribe, whatever. Actually, I don't know if liking the live streams helps that much. I think it does. Do it anyway. Fuck it, do it. Follow me on, subscribe to me on YouTube. I'm really trying to push the YouTube thing. I've actually been, secret thing, I've actually been creating a YouTube channel, building up a YouTube channel, building YouTube videos, editing videos for not just music, but beyond music. I'm thinking about doing the whole content creator, just YouTuber thing, because more scalable. We might try this. I'm enjoying what I've been making. I've been playing different games and commenting on it and things of that nature. I'll tell you when it's ready. I'll tell you more about it. But yeah, subscribe on the YouTube channel, DK Mixes. All right. On that note, if you want the link to it, just type in !YouTube. You'll get the link for it. All right. So on that note, happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy. Wait, hold on. Wait a second. That wasn't cool. Happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy.